আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
সৌজন্যে মাহবুব এন্ড কো অ্যাকাউন্টেন্টস।
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking to our distinguished guest, Khandakar Abdul Muktadir. He is chairman of BTTLMEA. And if you are wondering what is that, I will tell you that later. We were talking about the minimum wage of workers in agriculture, in knitwear, in towel industry,
in the textiles
and
RMG.
And RMG generally, see. And you said that they can start, a fresher can start with 5,300, progress up to 8,300 or something, and then experienced people can earn up to 17,000, 18,000 per month, see. But they must be very rare breed, isn't it?
No, they're not rare. There are two ways to do that. One, they're salaried. Some of them are salaried. So salary, government has set different steps, different levels, from different grades from the freshman to the top.
Right.
So I don't remember it right away, but it starts from 5,300 taka, and possibly it ends somewhere at 10,500 or 9,500, somewhere, or 10,000 maybe. There are.
How many years would it take to reach that?
A guy can reach in 2 years, in 1 year. This is not skyrocket. Not rocket science. It's a physical job with little bit more focus, little bit more attention, little bit more orientation, little bit more training. Someone can reach there in no time,
right.
6 months, 1 year, 2 years. There are one other ways. A lot of factories provide on job rate. On job rate.
Yeah.
I mean, they earn for themselves.
They produce so many items.
Absolutely. There, a lot of people can earn 15, 16, 20,000 taka. In sweater factories especially, I have seen people earning a lot more than other factories. In weaving also, I have seen, in the stitching, in the sewing department also. Normally, what productivity impacts is it encourages worker to work faster, quicker, and
so they work for the same limited 8 hours.
Of course.
But only if they can produce X number of items, products, then they will be rewarded.
There is a overtime regime stipulated specified in our labor law.
Right.
And also factories, those who are compliant factories,
Right.
They are strictly guided by the overtime regime. Overtime is normally allowed for 10 hours in a week. That means 2 hours every day for 5 days a week.
And how many days off they get every week?
One.
The whole day.
One full day every week.
And 1/2 day?
No.
So they work about.
Still, this is a poor country.
48 hours every week, is it?
Yes.
6 days, 8 hours.
Yes. And another 10 hours they are allowed to overtime.
Do overtime.
Yeah.
So they could
if it's mutually agreed.
They could be working up to 58 hours.
If they want.
If they want.
Or if their employers also require that.
Obviously, if the opportunities are there, the employer has something to meet a deadline, meet the export deadline, he will employ everybody to do
if it's mutually agreed.
That's right. How are the working conditions in not necessarily your factory, but generally in the RMG sector and the textile? Because we hear a lot of negative, not just rumors, but heart to heart, coming from people who have seen things. See, how are the working conditions? Do you really have a code for health and safety? Do you provide medical facilities on site in the factories? What happens if somebody, suffers? There is an injury in the factory. Is he insured for that injury, or would he be just asked to go home and come after he gets well?
A long list of questions.
Yeah.
So let me answer before I forget the first one. working condition, one shouldn't generalize, first of all,
Right.
because that will give a wrong, incorrect impression. There are two types of factories in Bangladesh in textile sector, and mainly the RMG sector, and also the kind of factories we have, home textile factories. One belongs to the compliant, those factories are compliant factories.
Right.
They
They
operate
comply to the international requirements?
international requirements, and those requirements set by their buyers.
Right.
And this is a very high standard of mode of operation. I'll tell you few things so you will be able to understand
Okay.
what are the working conditions in compliant factories. There are some other factories who are not compliant.
Right.
And the concern about working condition actually lie in those segment. Okay. Now the compliant factories, what they do, they have to maintain a full-time doctor in their premises, a full-time doctor. Of course, nurses will be there. In all the workplaces, if it's a multi-floor facility, multi-storage facility,
Right.
they will have to put up first aid arrangements in every floor. There has to be elaborate fire detection and firefighting system. Fire detection and firefighting system, elaborate one.
And it has to be drilled regularly so that they know what to do in
Of course, there has to be
emergency.
drilled together. There has to be enough storage of water. There has to be a space specified that if fire breaks out, they will have to come out and make
Then
an
we
assembly. Okay. In factories, you have to set up. There are some, what do you call them? You'll have to set an arrangement that if fire breaks out,
Right.
temperature reaches a certain
Yes.
degree, then those sprinkler
The
will
sprinkler system.
burst
Yeah.
and will start throwing water on the.
Like you
on
also
the
have
floor.
smoke alarms.
Smoke alarm, fire alarm. These are that has to be in place. I have told you about the doctor. There has to be a dining space, and the government has specified what will be the size of the dining room relative to the number of workers you have in the factory.
Right.
Okay. And
It's exclusively meant for dining, it's not a storeroom.
no. This is a dining space. This is a specified exclusive dining space. The number of fire extinguisher is determined by the level law. How many fire extinguishers you have to put. This is mandatory, not by choice. You
Right.
have to do it.
And they should be
Per square feet.
They should be in working conditions.
They have to be in working conditions. You have to keep the passage area free all the time. If there is a need of emergency evacuation, so workers have to be able to do that without any hindrance.
The escape exit should not be blocked or locked.
Yes, I have told you before
You know why
that
I'm
you have to make two categories. One is the compliant category, the other who do not belong to this category.
Right.
So what our government, what the BJME, what our association and all other associations are trying to do, to force the non-compliant industries to make them understand this is not the way to do business. You
Right.
have to be compliant. You have to make certain arrangements to be able to run your factory smoothly, securely, and in a healthy manner.
So being compliant is optional, is it?
No, actually no. If I answer
So
your
how do
question,
they exist without not complying?
if I answer your question, technically yes, but practically no. You can't do it for too long. Why? Because if you are not compliant, you cannot get orders from buyers directly, from good buyers, the better ones.
Right.
And if you are not working with better ones, you cannot sell your product at a better price, at a feasible price.
Right.
So you will have to be a subcontractor. That's not good for the business, and that doesn't make the business very feasible in this ferociously competitive market. So for the sake of business, for the sake of feasibility of this business, I think everybody have to be compliant. And we are trying to expedite the matter as fast as we can to bring it within the compliant fold all the factories.
Right. That's very good. Very, 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 I think, positive approach and attitude. Now, I'm intrigued. How can these factories whatever textile or RMG sector, how can they operate without being non-compliant? Shouldn't that be a condition before they go into business?
That should have been. But also you have to understand how this RMG sector came into being. When it first started in 1978, in the early 80s, if you remember the then Dhaka city, where it actually started to flourish, there were commercial buildings who never knew there is something called building code. They never knew that. There were simple buildings. Actually, the commercial buildings were lighter than the residential buildings, because residential buildings were used to having more load than the commercial ones.
Furniture and all that.
Commercial ones were being used only for the office purposes, and from dawn to dusk. I mean, you start your office at 9 o'clock,
Finish
leave
off at 5 or 6 o'clock.
Okay, with lighter loads, chair, tables, and etc. TV fridges were in your residence, not in the offices.
Right.
So actually, our garments factories started in the capital Dhaka, renting spaces in those commercial buildings,
Right.
where at that time no one was aware of the building codes, etc., etc. But as time progressed,
I think you are being a bit harsh, because I'm sure the Rajuk, what is Dhaka Improvement Trust or something, I'm sure that they had conditions laid down to make buildings. See, whether they were met or not, that's a different story.
I wish there were rules at that time, and I hope you were true. You were true. You were right that there were building codes at that time, and Rajuk was fully functional at that time to make sure that those buildings were in proper shape and secured. But the harsh reality is, it was not.
Well, I mean,
I
agree with you in that.
To make it simple, a commercial building, a office, is to have, say, 20 people, 20 persons.
Right.
In the same space, in a garments factory, if it's 5,000 square feet or 6,000 square feet, in a garments RMG floor, you can find about 200 persons.
Yes, with their machines.
With their machines, each individual one.
Yes.
So the load perspective is completely, absolutely different in two.
Right. So they should not have been allowed to operate in those
In the
buildings.
first place.
In the first place.
In the first place.
So the danger comes from there. See. But new buildings have been. Well, there are so many questions, and we'll come back after this short commercial break, which is our bread and butter. So thank you, Wayne, for being with us, dear viewers. We'll have to take a short commercial break, and we'll come back. Don't go away. Thank you.
আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
সৌজন্যে মাহবুব অ্যান্ড কো অ্যাকাউন্টেন্টস।